welcome to the Chiz Kitchen. It's been a few weeks since I've been around. I've been really busy working in the garden. We finally had some good weather. So I spent a lot of time out there, not too much time in the kitchen. But I was inspired because yesterday I received a phone call from a dear friend of mine, Donna. Donna, who I worked with for 26 years, Donna. And she said, Trish, I miss your videos and I need to know how to make a chocolate cake. So today, this is for Donna and for anybody else. Everybody should know how to make just a good classic chocolate cake. And this is easy. This is actually called one bowl chocolate cake. I have used this recipe for like 25 years. Very easy. I'm just gonna do it in a 13x9 pan. You could take this though and put it into a couple of 8-inch or 9-inch layers and have a nice pretty layer cake if you want to. But today we're just gonna make it easy and we're gonna put it into the 9x13. So, we will start with, actually I've already got it started here. I've got 2 cups of flour, regular flour, and 2 cups of sugar, regular sugar, not browned, just plain white sugar, plain white flour. So 2 cups of each of those in here, whisking that up. The other nice thing about this is you don't even really need to get out a mixer or a blender. It can all be done with like a whisk and a spoon. So 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar. I've got out measured here a 1/2 cup of cocoa. I just use regular Hershey's cocoa. You could use that special dark if you want to give it a little bit of a richer, darker, really dark chocolate, but a typical chocolate cocoa powder will do. So a 1/2 cup of cocoa powder is going in. And then here I already have measured out 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So 2 teaspoons of soda, 1 of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So that's going in there too, and that will be all our dry ingredients. So again, I'm just going to whisk this all together now, breaking up any of the lumps from maybe the cocoa, the sugar, or the flour, and incorporating it all. I always like to do things in a really big bowl too. That way I don't feel like I make as big of a mess. So it won't fill up the whole bowl, but. Okay, we've got this pretty well mixed here. So again, first 6 ingredients are all your dry ingredients. 2 cups of flour, 2 cups of sugar, 1/2 cup of cocoa, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So there you got it. There's your dry ingredients. Simple as can be. Now to that we're going to add some wet ingredients. So we're going to start with, let's see, we'll crack in a couple of eggs. They've been sitting out. 1 and 2. We got 2 eggs in there. And I always forget to get something to wipe my hands with. Okay, so there's our 2 eggs. Now I'm just going to measure this all together. We're going to put in a couple of different liquid ingredients. And I've got a 2-cup measure here. We're going to start with 1 cup of buttermilk. And I know I've talked before about buttermilk. I have some actual buttermilk here, but you can buy a powdered version in the grocery store, or again, you can make your own buttermilk by taking like a tablespoon of either lemon juice, that's what I usually use, or a vinegar, putting that into the cup and then filling it with regular milk. But it's 1 cup of the buttermilk and then 1 cup of canola oil. And yes, Donna, I am using canola oil. She's gonna understand that. She was asking me about which types of oil, but that is actually per the recipe too, but that's what I usually use for baking. I usually use canola oil or vegetable oil. I don't use olive oils unless it specifically says they have a tendency to give it a different flavor. So a cup of each of those. 1 cup of the oil, 1 cup of buttermilk, and in that goes. Okay. And a lot of you have heard me talking about making my own vanilla. I'm out of it. So I thought I'd show you too. My sister and I went in, we got some vanilla beans, and she got the vodka, I got the beans. And this is about 2 weeks in. This is I like to do it in the pretty bottle. You can just do it in the vodka bottle. What I've got in here, I've got about a dozen, 10 to 12 vanilla beans in here. I slice them, not all the way through, just halfway through, just to kind of expose the beans. So they're in there soaking. You really need a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks. So I'm gonna have at least another 4 to 6 weeks. But you can take this off here already, and that's good. Right now it smells like really vanilla vodka, but that's good too. So I just give this a stir every now and then, keep it up on a shelf, but until then I did have to go buy some, but I'm actually trying something different. I've never tried the vanilla bean paste. You're supposed to be able to use it with the same amounts that you would vanilla extract. So we're going to try that today. So it normally says a teaspoon of vanilla extract. We're going to try this paste. Let's see what it looks like here. You can see with me. Okay, it's obviously thicker. Okay. Looks a little more concentrated. We'll see. You can actually see, I don't know how well you can see it, but all the vanilla beans in there. Interesting. Okay. And you always want to add a little bit of vanilla to a chocolate cake. I know it sounds strange, but it actually does bring out the cocoa flavor. Now here's where our last ingredient is just a cup of hot water. So I'm just going to run the tap for a minute. It doesn't have to be boiling, but I want it to be hot. Now I do have another recipe very similar to this, where you add a cup of hot coffee, which I have done too. If you have some coffee left over, or if you have instant coffee, you can easily do that. It doesn't make it taste like coffee, but it does bring out the cocoa flavor. So there we go. We now have all our wet ingredients in there. We've got our, let's see, we started with our 2 eggs. We've got our 1 cup of canola oil, our 1 cup of buttermilk, and our 1 cup of hot water, and a teaspoon of vanilla, or in our case, some vanilla bean paste. Now really, we're just gonna whisk this all together. It's gonna take a minute because we got a lot of ingredients here, and we've got a lot of flour and dry ingredients down there on the bottom. Chocolate cakes always tend to have a very thin batter, so don't let that make you nervous. That's normal. I have some that are even thinner than this. Now this can be used for cupcakes. I personally use a different recipe for my chocolate cupcakes, and it actually has Guinness in it, but it seems to be a favorite by a lot of people who have my cupcakes. Okay, we're basically there. Okay, that's how easy that is. So when they say a 1 bowl cake, they mean a 1 bowl cake. We're just going to now, I already have this greased, just a 9x13 pan. We'll take this, again just making sure that I have everything off the bottom. We're going to pour it in here. Okay. Again, you saw how thin that was, but that's normal and that's okay. So don't let that worry you. Okay, I've got the oven already set at 350. It's preheated. So now we're going to put the cake in the oven. It's going to bake for, it's saying 35 to 40 minutes. We'll check it. When we bring it out, I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm going to do a basic chocolate frosting with you all too. So we'll come back and see that a little bit later. So, okay, welcome back. We have a cake. The cake is out. It's pretty cool right now. It was 35 minutes exactly. I tested it with a cake tester. No batter left on there. And that's how you test a cake. You can use a toothpick or something. You're going to insert it. When it comes out clean, that's when you know it's done. So this is done. It's cooled. Now we're just going to make a quick American buttercream chocolate to frost this. Now this batch is only going to make a thin layer. You could double it if you want a nice thick layer of chocolate frosting. I leave that up to you. But what I want to show you, we're going to have to do this in some segments because the frosting is going to have to whip for a little bit. But I want to show you room temperature butter. Okay? Room temperature butter is not super soft. It's just enough to put your finger into and make it move, okay? You don't want it splatting all over the place. So what I'm gonna do, I've got 1 stick of butter, a half a cup, and I use unsalted butter. I'm gonna put it in here. I'm going to put it put it on the mixer with a paddle attachment. If you have a KitchenAid, use the paddle attachment. If you don't, you can make this with a regular set of beaters. It might take you a little bit longer is all. But I'm gonna whip this butter, just the butter right now, for about 3 minutes. We'll come back and I'll show you where we're at. Okay. We're just finishing up mixing that butter. If you want to come back in here, Tim, you can look at this. It's soft, it's creamy, it's light. Now we're just going to add the rest of the ingredients to the frosting. Okay, so at this point, I don't love my new mixer. We're going to add 2 cups of confectioner's sugar. I'm gonna just pour that in there. I already have all this measured out just to make it a little bit easier. And I just ran a whisk through it to break up any of the bigger lumps. There's a quarter cup of cocoa powder, same cocoa powder we used in the cake. So 2 cups of sugar, powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar, however you want to call it, and a 1/4 cup of cocoa. We're going to put in some more of the vanilla bean extract. We're going to do about 1½ teaspoons. Again, this just brings out cocoa flavor. I'm not used to how thick this is and how it comes out kind of slow. Okay, like I said, 1½ so we're gonna go over the top a little bit. All right, there's that. And then we're gonna add a couple, I'm gonna start with about, they say like 3 to 4. I always like to err on the lower side because otherwise I don't like to add more sugar. So I'm gonna do about 3 tablespoons. And I'm using heavy cream. You can use milk, you can use regular cream. I like heavy cream. That's just a preference. So 3 tablespoons of heavy cream is what I started with. So I'm gonna mix this back up I'm gonna start on a low speed and whip it up, and then as it incorporates the powdered sugar and the cocoa, I just don't want it to go flying around. So I'm gonna start at a low speed. Once it's incorporated, I'm going to whip it for about another 2 or 3 minutes and we'll come back and we'll see what it looks like. We had a small technical difficulty with our on and off buttons. So unfortunately, you didn't get to see me frosting the cake and putting the jimmies on the cake. Here it is. Okay, that's how the frosting came out. I used the 3 tablespoons of cream. That was enough. Make sure you whip it though for a good 2 to 3 minutes after you've added all those ingredients. The whole key to a nice buttercream frosting is whipping it enough so that you get some nice air into it. So here's the chocolate cake. It tastes really good. I'm enjoying it. And Donna, I hope you enjoy your chocolate cake. I hope your husband enjoys the chocolate cake. And anyone else who wants to make chocolate cake, stay safe, stay healthy, eat chocolate, share it with a friend, share it with a neighbor, freeze it, feed it to the birds, I don't know, whatever makes you happy. Okay, thanks.
Sorry, everybody.